Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Monica Corrado here, the Gap Chef. Welcome to my Facebook Live on Tuesday mornings. I am here to answer your questions about anything gaps cooking, etc. And every week I do teach a little bit in the beginning, maybe 10 to 20 minutes on a subject so that we can have some structure and you all can learn some things that you may not know. And so I'll be doing that today also. Again, my name is Monica Corrado. I'm a teaching chef. I'm a holistic nutritionist. I am the Gap Chef. Yay, according to Dr. Natasha. I love to teach. I welcome everyone to this Facebook Live. If you're new to the group or new to this Facebook Live, welcome. I do have a website called simplybeingwell.com. You can find me there. I do also have for you a free download copy of the PDF of this. I keep bringing this so you can see how much I use it. It's used. Anyway, this is the GAPS intro diet chart, free to you on the page. Just find it up at the featured or pinned posts. It's up there. I also want to invite all of you, anyone who's interested, to come to my brand new, never been done before in this format, Culturing Dairy class. There's a lot of questions about dairy on the page, and a lot of confusion, a lot of questions, etc. And a lot of people have asked me to actually teach GAPS dairy, which is different from Weston A. Price dairy, which is different from, certainly from commercial dairy, but all the things having to do with dairy will be taught a week from tomorrow, June 1st. So join me if you like. All sessions will be recorded. It will be a live class in my kitchen. And there is a discount for this group that I have, the little code up there, and I'd love to have you. All right. So let's get on to what I would like to teach today, which is there are also a lot of questions on fermentation that come up on the page. Lots of questions about fermentation. This is mold. Is this mold? Is this not mold? What's happening? What's the color of this? This doesn't look right. This doesn't smell right. So I just want to go into a little bit about fermentation. I did cover all of the GAPS types of fermentation in this book here, which is part of this huge book that I have that has meat, stock, and bone broth, culturing dairy, lacto-fermentation, and nuts and seeds and beans and transition grains in here. But we're going to talk about lacto-fermentation today a little bit. Hello, Joanna. Hello, Veronica. Hello, Vicky. Good to have you. Hello, Tove or Tova. Hello, Alejandra. Good to have you. Good to have everyone. Oh, you're welcome. I'm thrilled. I'm happy to share what I know. There's no scarcity around here. There's a lot of people that are sick and a lot of people trying to help people get better. A lot of moms and dads and partners and spouses and grandparents and aunties and caregivers and every other thing. And people are not well. Let's get the info out there. Yeah, let's get it out there correctly. So here I am. Hopefully I'm on the page enough to help. And yeah. Hello, Leonie. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Niska. Good to have you, everyone. All right. So do let other people know that I'm available here in this forum. Invite them to the page, etc., etc. Good morning, Dawn. Hello, Maryland. Hello, Meg. Hello, Gladys. Good morning. Okay. Good to see everyone. All right. So there's a quick question up here before I get started, which is Joanna says, good morning. Ha ha ha. I'm sure I'm not the only one who would love to hear all the details about the birthday cake you recently made. Yes, I'm going to tell you about the birthday cake. I wondered if that was just bratty of me to put that up there. I don't think so. I was trying to share that, yes, it's possible to make delicious and nutritious and GAPS compliant cakes. We do not have to be sitting around having yucky foods. Our foods are delicious. And certainly when you know how to ferment nut flour, you too can have a fluffy, delicious, incredible cake. Now, that is also to tell you all that that icing is not GAPS compliant. It was buttercream and it was made with confectionery sugar. Yes, I did do it. My husband asked for it specifically. I do have other GAPS compliant frostings that I'll share with you. But truth be told, that was not a GAPS compliant icing or frosting. Frosting, really. It was all organic and it was made with dark chocolate, but it did have that lethal, horrible thing called confectionery sugar in it. And here I am confessing. But I have made beautiful GAPS cakes that don't have that icing. So anyway, let's see. La 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 la. I will have to answer to your have to listen to your answer later today, but I wanted to get this asked before running into an appointment. Thank you for sharing. You're welcome, Joanna, for sure. Hello, hello, hello. Who else? Just hello, Valerie. Hello, Yulina. Hello, hello. Not at all bratty. We appreciate knowing how to do it appropriately for occasional treats. Good. Yes. Yes, we should all have cake. By the way, we all also know that chocolate is not on the GAPS diet. Chocolate, cacao, raw cacao, etc. Dr. Natasha says it specifically in the Blue Book that it is not a GAPS food. That doesn't mean, and she also says that some people may be able to handle it at some point on their GAPS journey. So that's partly why I shared that beautiful chocolate cake with you. The best way to make it would be with raw fermented cacao instead of cocoa. I think I wrote that for you too. All right, so let's move on to lacto-fermentation. I just want to teach a little bit because there's a lot of confusion about lacto-fermentation. So what I want to say first is that there are several ways to lacto-ferment, and fermentation is very important to the GAPS diet because fermentation is one of the ways that we repopulate the gut. It's one of the ways that we repopulate and we bring in more beneficial flora to our digestive tract. It's also one of the ways that we bring in beautiful, soothing, incredibly good for us lactic acid, which is what those lactic acid bacteria, lactobacilli, contribute, right? They contribute enzymes, they contribute B vitamins, they contribute additional vitamin C, et cetera, et cetera. But lactobacilli specifically create lactic acid from the sugars in the fermented foods, okay? And the things that you are fermenting or from the things that you are fermenting, yeah? Okay, so that all being said, I have also spoken in this particular forum letting you all know that if you have a very strong histamine response, remember, I did a Facebook Live on this at least several weeks ago now. What is histamine? What is endogenous histamine? What is exogenous histamine? Blah, 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 blah. If you have a and please, if you have questions about histamine, go watch that. It's on my YouTube channel, Monica Corrado. It's also in the events, so you can find it there. So if you have a very strong histamine response and you cannot tolerate fermented foods because of that unbearable, not negotiable, like you can't handle it, it's not something you want to push through, histamine response, go and do not use fermented foods. Use a good, strong probiotic. Okay, so all that information is in the histamine Facebook Live that I did a couple weeks ago. It's titled Histamine, so you can find it, okay? All right, so let's get back. So there's two different types of lactoferments. One is we're talking about vegetables right now. I'm not talking about dairy. Dairy's over there. We'll talk about it next week. But in terms of lacto-fermented vegetables, lacto-fermented fruits, vegetables and fruits, right? Okay, there are two types of lactoferments. One is made with lactic acid bacteria, right? Just bacteria. And one is made with lactic acid bacteria and yeast. Okay, they're both good. They're both good for you. Lactic acid bacteria you would find from homemade yogurt whey that would have lactic acid bacteria in it. Mostly, that's the way we categorize it. So yogurt whey, you could also use a starter that you get from someone like Cultures for Health. I like them a lot. I believe that Donna Gates has one. Body Ecology Diet has one. And there are many other starter companies. I just know Cultures for Health because they really were one of the first companies to put out starters. So you're looking for vegetable starter. That would have lactic acid producing bacteria, lactobacilli, aka lab, L-A-B. Okay? So those are the ways that you get starters. You can also use a capsule, a probiotic capsule of lactic acid bacteria. Those are the main ways that you're finding or where you can get a starter that's just lactic acid bacteria. And that's for things like sauerkraut, cabbage tonic, beet kvass, pickles, kimchi, cortado, any broccoli, green beans. What do you want to ferment? You can ferment almost anything. And certainly when we're talking about vegetables, they are fermentable for sure. So lactic acid bacteria is usually what we use to make a lacto-fermented food. All right. Now, there is lactic acid yeast. And where do we find lactic acid yeast? We find it from kefir whey. Kefir, K-E-F-I-R, kefir whey, kefir whey, however you want to pronounce it. That whey that you drip would have yeast in it. Why is that important? Because we know that yeast, lactic acid producing yeast, beneficial yeast, wonderful yeast, we love them yeast, will provoke a stronger detoxification reaction and a stronger die-off reaction, and will repopulate your gut with wonderful beneficial yeasts. So that particular whey is used for vegetable medley. Remember that vegetable medley, as it is written in the yellow book and the blue book, is very different from all the rest of the ferments. Why? Because it specifically requires kefir whey. Okay? And when Dr. Natasha starts talking about having the brine from vegetable medley when you're in one of the other diets, for example, the GAPS liquid fast, it's in there specifically because it has a different profile of bacteria and yeast versus something like sauerkraut juice or cabbage tonic or beet kvass. Different because it's stronger in yeast than any of the other ones are. All right, so now you have this idea of there's lacto-fermentation with lactic acid producing bacteria, and there's lacto-fermentation with lactic acid producing yeast. They're going to give you different types of die-off. The majority of lacto-ferments are made with lactic acid producing bacteria. Okay, just so you have that clearly. All right. Now, so a couple thoughts there. I'm going to do 3 different things right now. A couple thoughts there. Number 1, if you are dripping your own whey, whether it be from yogurt that you made or yogurt that you bought, or kefir that you made, or kefir that you bought. Always, we know homemade is best when you can do it. From raw dairy, when you can do it, when you can get it, okay? So when you drip whey, you want to make sure that you catch as much of the solids as you can. You get it out. And so that requires sometimes several layers of cheesecloth in a strainer or a nut milk bag. That's a cloth nut milk bag. You must use several layers of either cheesecloths. We're talking a lot of them, because if you made raw milk yogurt, if you're using raw milk yogurt or raw milk kefir, it will be it'll be runny, and you don't want to get those milk solids in your whey. And so I'm just going to show you quickly, because I can. Here we go. I'm going to look into the ferments. Let's look. Okay. That doesn't really show you. There you go. Here's in my book. We're now on page 137. Here's a photo of dripping whey. I don't care whether you use Pyrex or not, and that could actually be a bowl instead, but you can see that there's a strainer, lots and lots of layers of cheesecloth, and there's that yellow chartreusey green, very, very clean whey. It's very important that you get clean whey, meaning the liquid. You want to separate the milk solids out before you use whey to culture anything. Why? Because if not, you're adding milk solids, you're adding actual yogurt or actual kefir to your ferment, which is going to be a little messy. You're not going to be able to see what's growing or not growing, because you may have milk solids in your ferment. So please do a very good job of keeping out, straining out as much of the milk solids as you can from your whey, whether you're dripping it from yogurt or you're dripping it from kefir, or you're allowing raw milk, only raw milk, never pasteurized. You're allowing it to separate on the counter into curds and whey, right? When you strain, you want to catch as much of those solids as you can. And then there will not be so much confusion about what's on the top of my ferment. What is this white stuff? What's floating around, right? If you start with a clear whey, a clear, beautiful, chartreuse-colored, greenish, yellowish whey, without all of that milk solids in it, we'll be able to, first of all, you'll have a much easier time fermenting. And second of all, you won't have so much confusion. There won't be so much confusion about what's on my ferment. Well, if you start with clear whey, then if something's on your ferment, we can really troubleshoot it. But if you don't start with clear whey, we don't know, right? I'm going like this. I don't know what's in there. So start with some really clear whey. All right. Next, salt. Let's talk about salt and fermentation. Salt is really important for fermentation, for the most part. In fact, salt is the only thing you need to ferment anything. I go into all of this in my book very clearly, that salt is the only requirement for fermentation, period, end of story. Why? Because salt creates the conditions for pathogens to stay out and good bacteria to grow. It has to do with the pH of the whatever you're fermenting. So salt is really important. And salt is all you need. So don't skimp on the salt. And saying that, you can ferment with just salt and never a starter. So why do we use starters? Because starters start things. That's why they're called starters. Starters are inoculants. Starters help kick things off. Starters help to get things moving. Yeah, that's why we use starters. You never have to use a starter, but starters help to guarantee that you have a ferment. They help to, quote unquote, guarantee the types of microbes that are in your ferment. They help to kickstart it, if you will. They are catalysts, if you will, for fermentation. So, all of that being said, sometimes if you over-inoculate, meaning if you use a lot of starter, you won't need salt. I hope I'm not confusing anyone. Let's start over. Salt is all that's required to lacto-ferment anything, any vegetable, any fruit. Salt is what's needed because salt creates the conditions for beneficial microbes to grow and pathogenic microbes not to grow. Okay, next, there is a formula. Excellent. There is a formula that I have come up with all of my teaching for years of the Nourishing Traditions Weston A. Price classes that I developed a long time ago. Here's the formula that always works. 2 tablespoons of salt to every quart or liter jar of vegetables, plus water to cover to the shoulder. That always works. Or if you don't want that much salt, you could do 1 tablespoon of salt and 4 tablespoons of whey from yogurt or raw milk, etc. That always works per quart or liter. Okay? So that being said, folks, you can ferment without salt, but only if you do what I call over-inoculating. Those are my little quotation marks. They're not bunny ears. Quotation marks, right? So you can over-inoculate, meaning use a lot of starter and no salt at all. Why? Because you've had so much starter and good bacteria in there that you don't have to worry about the other guys growing because you just have a lot of good bacteria in there. So all of these things, and I think 8 or 9 different ways to ferment, GAP style, are in my book if you want to check it out. I try to make it easy for you about salt and different types of starters and all of that stuff. What else can I say? I really do believe that if you start with clean whey, you're going to have a lot less issues with or problems or challenges with your ferments. So I just want to really offer that. If you don't want to use whey because it's dairy and you're not currently dealing with dairy, you can't handle it, you can get a starter. As I said, you can buy a vegetable starter that's a non-dairy vegetable starter from a good place like Cultures for Health or something like that. All right, what else can I say? Or you could use no starter at all. Just use salt. All right, let's see if there's anything else. The other thing that's really important for folks is to remember that most ferments, this is not the ones with yeast, lactic acid producing bacteria, right? Lacto-ferments like sauerkraut, this bacteria is anaerobic. Anaerobic, that means that they do not like oxygen. That means that you need to keep them tight. You need the lids tight. You can use an airlock lid if you want. You can use a 2-piece lid if you want. There's all sorts of things out there you can do, but you really want to make sure that there's no oxygen allowed in. There will be some oxygen because you're going to only fill up to this level, right? You're going to leave this much space between the top of the ferment and the top of the jar. You're going to leave this much space. I know this is my water jar, but I'm just saying. You're going to leave this much space, about 2 inches, between the top of the ferment and the top of the jar. Why? Because we want to make sure that it has room to expand. All right, so lactic acid producing bacteria are anaerobic. They do not like oxygen. They grow without oxygen. Okay? Yeast loves oxygen, so that's a different story. I want to leave things open for lactic acid producing yeast because they like oxygen. So anyway, that's what I'm going to give to you today about lactic acid fermentation. For the most part, we're talking about starters. We're talking about clean whey. We're talking about anaerobic. We're also talking about, all right, I'll do temperature. Temperature, really important. Go get yourself a little plastic thermometer for $2 somewhere and find a place that's 68 to 72 degrees. No sunshine, right? You don't want sun beating on your ferment. It'll boil it or cook them. You don't want to cook those little microbes. You don't want it near an electrical outlet. You don't want it near a microwave, which I hope you do not own. Please do not microwave beautiful GAPS food. You just destroyed it. All right. So figure out where there's a consistent temperature, and then you'll know, right? If it's on the cooler side, like your house is usually 67 Fahrenheit. Sorry, I'm not doing Celsius. I need to put a little chart next here so I can talk to all my international people. Sorry. If it's 68, if it's cooler, 67, 66, it's going to take longer. Time and temperature are connected, okay? If it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit in your house, it's going to take shorter time. Time and temperature are connected. All right, I hope that was helpful. I'm going to jump in now and see what kind of questions people have. Please let me know if you have any questions about what I just covered, and know that there's a lot more information about fermenting GAPS style in that part of my book called Lacto-fermentation. All right, let's see who's joined us since we started. La, 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 la. Let's see who's jumped on here. Okay, Allie is here. Hello, Allie. Valerie, why is chocolate not GAPS legal? Check it out. Okay, let me just go ahead. I'm just going to repeat. Please, everyone who's in this group, I need you to read the book. I need you to read the book. So read the yellow book, and if you have time, read the blue book. But we need to read the books, because then I know that you have a very wonderful understanding of what GAPS is and how it works, and I can be much more helpful to you. If you want to know about why GAPS is not GAPS legal, you want to jump into the blue book, why it's not legal. Hold on. Ba, 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 ba. Here you go. Chocolate, page 270, blue book. Bottom of page. Last paragraph. Cocoa, chocolate, cacao bean, and cacao powder are not allowed on the GAPS diet. Right here, straight from Dr. Natasha's writing. Chocolate is much loved all over the world, and some people introduce it successfully later on in the program when digestive symptoms have disappeared. Make sure that your patient's body is ready for this indulgence, as cocoa contains many substances which are irritating to the gut and which can upset the balance of blood sugar levels and neurotransmitters in the brain, causing migraine headaches, unstable mood, and behavior abnormalities. It may be necessary to ferment cocoa powder before using it in your recipes. Okay, so Dr. Natasha says, in order to do that, mix it with the nut flour and a cup of whey, kefir, or yogurt. Add some water to make a porridge-like consistency. Leave to ferment for a week before using it. Stir once a day. Make sure it is covered with a little water, as this fermentation is anaerobic. All right, so cocoa, cacao, fermented. Cocoa, cacao bean, cacao powder are not allowed on the GAPS diet. Right there. I know, I sound bratty that way, folks, but we really have to look and see, what does Dr. Natasha say? I'm only trying to tell you what she says. That's my job, right? Hello, Annika. Hello, Sabrina. Hello, Meg. Hello, Carol. Hello, Uma. Hello, Tara. Hello, Otilia. Hello, hello. Hello, who else is in here? All right, hello, Carol Carpinelli. Hello, Veronica. Okay, let's go up there and let me get this going. So yes, the reasons why chocolate is not GAPS legal is because it can mess up your blood sugar, cause mood swings, destabilize hormones, all sorts of things. Okay, all right. Meg says, I plan to start a salmon ferment today. I presume a whole different probiotic. No, if you're going to ferment salmon, just use, you can use whatever you're going to use for, you can either just use salt or you can use whey for a fermented fish. Dr. Natasha has nice fermented fish recipes in here. Check them out. Yeah, you can use just salt and herbs and water, or you can use some whey also. All right, here's Uma. Hello, Uma. We are on full gaps. My son is autistic. Sometimes when he sees ice cream, car, or shop, he will definitely have, is that okay? Okay, so let's talk about that. What's up with ice cream? So if you would like to make your own homemade ice cream, that would be fabulous. What could you do? You use homemade lactose-free, right? GAP-style kefir, or GAP-style yogurt, or GAP's sour cream, cultured cream, and you go ahead and you make ice cream out of that for your child. There is banana ice cream too on the GAP's diet, but I encourage people, if you are fine with dairy, if your child is able to tolerate GAP's, meaning lactose-free homemade yogurt, homemade GAP's sour cream, homemade GAP's kefir, use that and make them a treat. That's fine. Why do we not like, what would be wrong? What would be, I hate that word, it's too strong. What would be challenging about what's coming from the ice cream man or the ice cream truck or the ice cream shop? What would be challenging? Well, I'm going to bet number one that just a couple of thoughts. One, the ice cream is probably not organic. So it's full of pesticides, herbicides, hormones, who knows what, GMO feed, who knows what else. Number two, it's definitely not lactose-free. It's got lots of sugar in it, so milk sugar. And we know that lactose is not on the GAP's diet because it feeds pathogens. What else could be difficult there? When they make ice cream commercially, it's full of sugar. It's full of high fructose corn syrup, white sugar, all different types of sugars. So we know that sugar is not on the GAP's diet. Why? Because one of the principles of GAP's, one of the pillars of GAP's that I came up with years ago, that is on a Facebook Live from a couple of weeks ago on what is GAP's and what are the 4 pillars, is starving pathogens. And so that's why we take sugar out. So yeah, those are the difficulties with ice cream that you buy from a store, ice cream that you buy from a ice cream, we call them the ice cream man or the ice cream truck or the ice cream car. Those are the difficulties. So when you have anyone who's on GAP's, we just don't do white sugar, right? We don't do white sugar. We don't eat it. We don't have high fructose corn syrup. We don't do all of those sugars, and God knows what else is in there. Those are toxic to the body, and the sugars certainly feed the pathogens. So, up to you, but I wouldn't go there personally. Okay, so yes, Jennifer says you can use date paste in your homemade ice cream. You can. Date paste is absolutely perfectly, yes, good for GAP's. However, you could also just use blueberries, strawberries, peaches, right? Fruit, if you're on full GAP's. Okie dokie. Veronica says, last time I used for 200 ml cream, about 50 ml kefir, I had a problem converting quart cup ml. Okay, Veronica, I will write something about that for us. Let me make a note. I hear you. She's having a hard time converting cream and kefir. To make kefir cream is what you're asking, is how to convert it from quarts to liters, yeah? Give me a thumbs up if that is what it is, and we'll make a note of it and put it in a file on the page. Okay? Thank you for that. Okay, Dawn says, it is my understanding that every time we cheat, the pathogens that that are alive will continue to live, so it's like you're starting over. Yes. For example, if a pathogen would die in 6 weeks in the gut once you're starving it and you eat sugar, it gets to stay alive 6 more weeks. That's highly possible. Yeah, I mean, remember, one of the major tenets of GAPS is starve the pathogens, right? It's not just like, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why we limit sugar and we don't have it. We exclude it, right? Because we don't want to feed pathogens. And we want to get your gut flora to balance. We want to address the dysbiosis and get it to healthy gut, healthy bacteria. Okay. Veronica asks, is it bad if I am using starter like in, for example, your dairy book? No, not at all. It's great to use starter. No problem at all. You're welcome, Carol. Thank you for being here. All right. Annika asks, how does the lactic acid producing yeast in vegetable medley grow without oxygen? Very good question. So if you notice, Dr. Natasha has you making vegetable medley in a bowl with a plate, right, that fits inside. In my book, I have you making it in a jar. There is a certain amount of oxygen there that the yeast can use up and in the jar. And also, you can leave that lid more open than not for the yeast. Sorry to ask again. It's okay. Hello, Courtney. Good to have you with us. All right. I don't know how to say that word. Umokare, maybe? Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go back up and see what else we can find. Sorry, I'm reading, folks. All right. We're going. Okay. Carol. Okay. I did that. All right. Tara says I was late jumping on. Good. Come on back. You can jump. Okay. So Ottilia says, I have fermented with salt and filtered water, but not a boiled water. But green mold grew on it after a couple of days. Okay, so I don't know where you are, but it may be a good idea for you to boil the water before you use it, Ottilia, perhaps, or you may not have used enough salt. So you could use a little bit more salt. Yeah. And the good next question Tara is asking was everything under the water. So it needs to be under the water. So yeah, so those ferment folks have come up with cool things to keep things under the water, like there are actually fermentation weights that are glass that you can buy. Some people put pie weights in there. Some people wash river stones, wash and clean and disinfect river stones and put them on top of their vegetables to keep them submerged under the brine. Very important to keep everything submerged under the brine. I like to also use a cabbage leaf you can put everything underneath, make sure that cabbage leaf is under the brine so that nothing grows. Yes, goat or sheep whey, you can definitely use that too. I'm so bummed. Baby had goat cheese the other night. He was up all night screaming. I had horrible gas pains. So Tara, here's the question. Why would baby be screaming? Because there's still lactose in the goat cheese, I would guess. Remember, folks, I don't know, but that's my first guess. Remembering that lactose is milk sugar. It is in every mammal milk. So remembering that while we love goat milk as opposed to cow milk because of the casein structure, goat milk tends to be better, tends to be more similar to human milk. If you gave baby goat cheese, not sure why you would do that, but that's another thought. In fact, I would have started with something like yogurt, goat yogurt. Why? Because we need to make sure that the lactose is pre-digested, that there is no lactose. We remember that lactose, OSE, is a milk sugar. It's found in every mammal milk, and lactose feeds pathogens and can set up for bloating and gas and screaming babies. I'm so sorry about that, Tara, but you could tell me more about why you would give your child goat cheese. Okay. Is it okay to use plastic for ferment? We'll be traveling via plane for long trip. Plastic lighter than jars. So, yes and no. If you can, there are some companies that are already making, like Farmhouse Culture uses a plastic bag, but they're using very, very heavy plastic, and they say it doesn't have BPA and BPB and blah, blah, all those things. So up to you. I would actually suggest, this is me, what I would do. I would bring a very little bit with me, and then I'd ferment as soon as I get there or purchase something there, as opposed to bringing a bunch of stuff in plastic. We also know that it is highly possible that whatever you bring on the plane will be killed, destroyed by security, right? Possible. All right. Hello, Maria. Yes. Hello, hello, hello. Look at all these beautiful people. I don't know how to pronounce their names, but you're welcome. I'm sorry for my ignorance. You're Kazan, perhaps. Umu Sumaya. I hope that was fine. Hello, Courtney. Glad you found me too. Hello, Aliona. Okay. The question is if it is a problem if I am using more starter. All right. No, it's not a problem. Should not be a problem. All right, let me go back up and see what we're missing. Okay, la la la, she's doing that. La la la, she's doing that. La 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 la. Da, da, da. We asked that. We did that. Okay. Is it bad if I'm using more starter like an exhibit? No, Veronica. So now I'm following. So Veronica wants to know if she's using more starter than what I'm saying to use. No, you can use more starter. Just remember that the more starter you use, the faster the fermentation is going to happen, right? So just watch it. Just watch and make sure that it may be done a lot faster. Not a problem. All right, Dawn says, just finished the heart book. Yes, the heart book. The heart book. You mean the heart book? The heart book. Put your heart in your mouth. Everyone needs to read this book, especially people who have high cholesterol, where their doctors are trying to put them on statins, which is a disaster. Okay. Teaches someone who may not want to do GAPS diet how to live and eat healthier. Yes, really good idea, Dawn. So yes, Dr. Natasha does pretty much just talk about what to be eating that isn't as frightening as the GAPS book is, since it's much, much bigger. It's a great idea. Okay. Okay, I didn't give it to him. We ate it. Someone else says, I'm sorry. He got a hold of the eggs with goat cheese in it from someone else. I later found out that they used soy oil. Could have been the combo. Eating anywhere besides home is so hard. Yes, you're right. It is. It's very difficult for sure. Baby is also over 1 now. Yeah, but remember, just so everybody knows, a quick thing. I think I talked about this last week. Soft cheese, goat, sheep, cow, whatever, donkey, water buffalo. Soft cheese is going to be higher in lactose. It's going to be higher in casein. So just so everybody knows, is baby on baby GAPS? Hope so. You know me. Baby GAPS is such a wonderful way to raise our children, our brand new babies. Baby GAPS is only found in here. Yellow book. Check it out. There. I'm sorry to hear that, Tara. So quick thing also for everyone. Homeopathics are wonderful things for us to use on GAPS, even though, homeopathics. Dr. Natasha says homeopathics are fine to use on GAPS. There are wonderful ones for children and gas. It's actually called gas, and you could give it to your child. Maybe that would have helped. Sorry for your horrible night. All right, let's see. You're welcome, Meg. Okay, yes, I did answer your question. Uma, I think I did. Let me go look again. Boom, boom. Let's see. I am looking. Yes, I did answer your question, and very thoroughly. I do think so. Hello, Hamda. Yes, hello. Who else is here that I haven't said hello to? I'm saying hello to everyone. If I miss you, I'm sorry, but you are so welcome to be here. Okay. Maria. Hello, Angelica. Maria would like to ask, I would love to ask a question about meat stock. Of course, you can ask anything you want. What would you like to ask about meat stock? One of my favorite things. Hello, Hamda. Hello, everyone, whoever's on and not on. Okay, ask me your question about meat stock. I'm happy. She's probably typing furiously. I mean, quickly. Hopefully she's not furious about anything. All right. Let's see. Any other questions coming in? Let's see. There's a meat stock question coming soon. Anybody has fermentation questions? All right, I'm just going to hang out here until someone gives me a question. We've got 10 minutes left. La, 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 la. Also, just letting everyone know that I'm preparing now my 8-week, 8-segment meat stock course. Really, really good. It's going to be coming up hopefully by June 1, but maybe June 15. All right, Veronica wants to know. Is it wrong that most of the time I eat the meat from the meat stock cold? I drink next to it hot meat stock and also cold dairy. Okay, so a couple of things. These are great questions coming up. So Veronica, so let's just talk about cold. What does cold make you do? Cold makes you shiver. So the basic answer is that, is it terrible that you're doing that? No. Is it harder for your digestion? Yes. Why? Because your body runs at 98.6 Fahrenheit, and your body is warm, and when you put cold things in it, it is harder on the digestion. So that's really my best answer there. And you also have cold dairy. So room temperature dairy would be better. Room temperature meat would be better. Just putting that out there. Okay, so Niska says, that's okay. Bye-bye. Alyona is leaving. How to use kefir topically? Really good question. You can use kefir topically. How? You can use it to repopulate your underarms. You can use it to repopulate the groin. You can use it on babies, babies' diapers, certainly. You can use it to get ready for pregnancy. You can use it on eczema. So you can use kefir topically. I do have an article on that on my publisher's website, Saline River Press, about kefir. Let me put that, I'll put that article in so everybody can read it. Good question, Alejandra. Okay, Vicky says, can we reuse the cartilage that didn't break down the first time we make meat stock? Yes, you can do one of two things. One of the best things to do is just to blend it up right into the stock and drink it right then. You could also make, I don't know, Dawn, are you the one that makes these cubes? I don't know what you call them. But they're cartilage cubes or whatever. They're connective tissue cubes. So you take the cartilage that didn't break down, you add some meat stock to it, you blend it up in a food processor or a blender, and then you actually freeze cubes of it. And then you add it into your soups, your stews, your stocks, whenever you can. You could do that. You could reuse it, or you could just pulverize it, which is what Dr. Natasha suggests, actually. Okay, here's the meat stock question. Using 70% meat, 30% bones, and get a nice fat seal, but not gelled stock. Cooked about 3.5 to 4 hours with the goal of that low simmer you demonstrated. Okay, So you probably just did not have enough cartilage, Niska, thinking. Connective tissue. Remember that meat does not make gelatin. Connective tissue does. Cartilage, tendons, cartilage, tendons, connective tissue makes gelatin. Joints make gelatin. What's in a joint? Connective tissue. So you probably did not have enough. So when we're talking about 70% meat, just so I'm sure you are aware, it is 70% meaty bones that have cartilage, that have connective tissue, that have, right? Those meaty bones have a joint in them, connective tissue, so that things will gel. All right. Maria says, typing quickly, yes. I think I understand the notion of meaty bones, but not really, haha. What does a joint mean? Okay. I know that beef, bison, lamb, beef, bison, neck bones work. Yes. Are knuckle bones good? I have been consulting books, but I don't know if the farmers that I buy from sell the type of bones I need. Soup bones. Yeah. Okay. So a couple things. Joint. A joint is a joint. A joint is something that lets things move. You have joints and your knuckles are full of joints. Yeah. Your shoulder is a joint. Your elbow is a joint. Your neck is full of joints, right? Joints make gelatin. So yes, meaty neck bones are great. What else is a joint? Believe it or not, in this book, Dr. Natasha talks about a joint. So a joint of beef or lamb is actually a roast with a bone in it. And believe it or not, those pieces are usually shoulders. So it's like a shoulder lamb roast. It's a shoulder beef roast, bison roast. It's Boston butt, which is a pork roast. All of those roasts have a bone in it and a lot of connective tissue. So it's joint in the, what can I say? The traditional, the usual definition, which is a joint is a place in your body or in the animal's body where there's two straight bones and then there's something that allows it to bend. So that knuckle, etc., shoulder, knuckle, neck, tail, they have movement because they have joints, and the joints have cartilage. And the other explanation of joint, which is specifically, it's not really in the American English, I think it's UK English, is a roast that has a bone in it and connective tissue. And I actually have a whole list of those things, and I do go through all of that in my meat stock class, my new one that hasn't been published yet. So those are two ways, I'm writing it down, to talk about what is a joint for meat stock for gaps. So are knuckle bones good? Yes, but knuckle bones don't have any meat on them, right? If we're talking about a beef knuckle bone, that's usually this big. It's the size of my head or half of my head. It's the size of my knee. It's huge. Remember that a knuckle from a cow or a bison is really their knee, and it's quite big. It's huge. It's way bigger. It's like my fist put together, at least, maybe triple that or double that, sorry. So those usually come with no meat on them, and they will not break down in 4 to 6 hours, knuckle bones. Not from a cow. Knuckle bones from a lamb or sheep might, but not knuckle bones from a cow or bison. They just won't. So problems with knuckle bones, no meat on them, takes too long to break down. I hope that's helpful. Soup bones, if you talk to your farmer, ask them for meaty soup bones. You say, I want meaty soup bones. They say, oh, really? You say, yeah, I want meat on those bones. Okay? All right. Okay, you're welcome, Maria. Okay, Niska says soup bones, that is shanks, the meat I'm using. Yes, also hard to find bone in cuts, so I buy bones separately and marrow bones. I hear you, Niska. I know it's really hard because people don't want bones. They just want the fillet. They just want, right? They don't want it, sadly, because we do. So you have to get to a butcher or a butcher shop, or perhaps buy your own side of beef, etc., and tell the processors what you want. Yeah, soup bones, shanks. So that's the meat. Often soup bones, shanks will not give you enough gelatin. So what do? Add in some kind of joints. You know what gels really well is rib. Meaty ribs, like short ribs, tend to gel very, very well. So you could throw a couple short ribs in there with the shanks. That may help. And marrow bones are great for marrow, but marrow bones will never gel a stock. Just, they don't have what it takes, the materials to do it. Okay, Dawn says, yes, I blend it with a little stock and freeze in ice cube trays. Yes, that's about the cartilage that you can blend into ice cube trays. All right, where are we now? Roseanne says, hello, Roseanne. Could you put kefir on dark spots on the face? Yes. Would it help the dark spots fade? I am developing. So dark spots on the face are usually liver. You also get dark spots on your hands. You'll see dark spots on the hands. Those are liver spots, folks. So I would suggest actually you can put kefir on the dark spots on your face, but you could also, pardon me, I would also suggest that you do some liver supports, like Big Time. Not Big Time. Sorry, that was too strong. I don't know you. I don't know your case, not case symptoms. I would be doing milk thistle tea. I would be doing castor oil packs on your liver. I would be doing detox baths every night for a while. I would be adding in any detoxification methods that you like, that feel good to you. That's why you develop dark spots on your face. Yes. Okay. I use kefir as a hair mask. Excellent. Kefir is really good on your scalp when you have dandruff. Kefir. Rub it in, rub it in, rub it in, rub it in, rub it in. Leave it on overnight with a towel over your head. Wash it out the next day. Really good. Annika says, if you drink every day 2 quarts of yogurt or kefir and 1.5 quarts of meat stock with vegetables, would you have any shortages of any kind? Do you mean vitamin shortages, nutrient shortages? What kind of shortages, Annika? Let me know more. I know we're at time, but I'm going to finish these few questions. By the way, that's a very good regimen, Annika. Very good. Leonie, hello. Can we do detox things too much as daily castor oil packs or the packs, detox baths, and other stuff all in the same day? Listen to your body. Some people will not do well with long detox baths. They will not do well with detox baths plus castor oil packs. Listen to your body and remember that you can regulate, right? Meaning you can do a castor oil pack for 10 minutes instead of 20, or for 5 minutes. You could do a detox bath for 10 minutes or 12 minutes. Listen to your body. It will tell you when you've had enough. Do not overdo. For some people, they could do them every day. Other people, not so toxic. Although I'm not sure everybody's toxic right now. Sorry. But just listen to your body and know that you can modulate, regulate any of those things for yourself. Okay. Yes. Dawn says Chanca Piedra, Piedrat for liver gallbladder. Absolutely. Okay. Good, good, good. Soup bones, we got that. Okay. La, 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 la. Otilia says, yes, I believe it was under the brine because I wanted to do kvass. I used 1.5 beetroot and 1 small carrot. I will post the picture in here later. Excellent. I'd like to see it, Otilia. Happy to see it. Okay. I took my son to the private GP and I requested that they take a swab from the throat to see what kind of bacteria is living in his throat when having upper respiratory infection, but it came back negative. It surprised me so much. I asked if there was a streptococcal infection that would show up. She said yes. How is that possible for a swab negative? Okay, no problem. Here's what I would do. This is for Otilia. I would go back to this book and I would read the part on glue ear. Just read it. It'll be helpful to you. Dr. Natasha has it in there. She has a little picture of glue ear. But here's what to do. this is what Dr. Natasha would suggest. Take a probiotic pill, like BioCult, which is not too much. It's not too many, it's not too potent. And open up the capsule and put it on the back of your son's tongue at nighttime before bed. And do that every day, every other day for a while. It will repopulate this area and will really help, meaning it'll repopulate the sinuses, the ears, the throat. Okay, that's something Dr. Natasha talks about a lot. That's in that book. You can look and see why she says it, but all of you can repopulate the throat, the sinuses, the ears, the head, the upper respiratory tract by putting a probiotic on the back of the throat before bed. Don't swallow anything afterwards. Like don't drink some water or anything. Just put the powder on the back and then go to sleep. Okay. Hello, here we go. Fatsy Ali. How can one support their kidney with low serum creatine and also low muscle tone on gaps other than eating more protein? So one more time with feeling, folks. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a naturopathic doctor. I'm a teaching chef and a holistic nutritionist. So how can someone support their kidney with low serum? So I would like to see, I personally suggest when I work with clients that people go for regular acupuncture for their kidneys. I also suggest beet kvass every day for the kidneys, very important. Beet kvass is incredible. Chanca-piedra tea is very, very wonderful for kidney function also. Those are the things that I would go to. In terms of low muscle tone on gaps, usually, again, I'm not a doctor, but in my understanding, low muscle tone has to do with not getting all of the essential amino acids. And so over time gaps can really help with that. I'd have to look up other things for you for low muscle tone. But those are the things I would do to support the kidney. Make sure you're drinking good water and enough of it. Make sure you have enough beet kvass in your diet. And Chanca-piedra tea. Okay, Maria says, been doing Chanca-piedra for 2 days and the nausea is almost unbearable. So Maria, what do? Back off. Back off. That is a strong response. I would do Chanca-piedra, I would do half the amount. So you could either dilute the Chanca-piedra tea, you could dilute it, you could do it every other day instead of every day, etc., etc. That makes sense. Yeah. Right now you're taking amoxicillin for 5 days, so I gave him 2 of the BioCult capsules well after the antibiotics. Yes. And also I would try to repopulate the throat with the BioCult. Was there a live on beet kvass I missed? No, there wasn't. Should I do one? I could do a beet kvass, a live on beet kvass. That would be fun. I'll write it down. I love beet kvass. I have talked about beet kvass, but it wasn't specifically, like it wasn't beet kvass in the title, but I have talked about it. I've talked about how Dr. Natasha makes it. I've talked about how you add more water in. I've talked about spent beets. I've talked about how to use it, how much to take, why, but please do beet kvass. Okay, Courtney, I'll do beet kvass. All right, everyone. So we are over. Thank you so much for joining me today. Blessings to all of you, everything you're doing, to you, to your children, to your work, to your figuring out the GAPS diet. I'm so glad you joined me today. It's always fun to be with people and answer questions and teach and talk and things like that. I would love for any of you who are interested in culturing dairy to sign up for my culturing dairy class that starts a week from tomorrow, live. 4 sessions live on dairy, etc., etc. So check it out, and you are welcome, Niska. You're welcome. Good, good. All right, everyone. Be well. You're welcome. Take care of you. I'll see you on the page. Do tag me if you want me to see something. And good, Dawn. I'm glad. Good, good, Tara. Excellent. Okay. Be well, everyone. We will see you next week. Okay. Take care.